Whew. So many people there.
Oops, my mic was off. Yeah. We definitely underestimated how long it would take to go over all that, so that was rough.
I think honestly, it probably would have been better to just do low, mid first.
Yeah.
My logic was that A2 high should be done first because people would focus more because it wasn't the second of a back-to-back for a lot of people.
Yeah,
but
be helped. Okay, I'm just gonna start letting people in. For this one, it's yeah. Let me give you. Let's do this. Fuck. Call.
Oh, you don't need to be here.
How do I give you host? God damn it. 네, 여보세요? 네, 8층에 문 앞쪽에 그쪽에 주시면 됩니다. 여보세요?
I don't know. Maybe you can try. It's fine. All right. First of all, if you weren't at the A2 high meeting just now, apologies for this one starting a little bit late. The A2 high one ran a little bit longer than hoped, but shouldn't be too bad. All right. We'll give everyone maybe a minute or two to file in and then get this done. All right. If you are coming in, it would be very helpful if you could change your display name to your name and your full name, and also include your location in your display name. It'll just make it a lot easier to do attendance. All right. All right, there should be 30 of you here. There are 26. That's good enough. All right, so let's get this done. All right. So yeah, welcome. A2 low mid. These are actually two different classes, two different styles of classes. So we're gonna go over A2 low mid first, or sorry, A2 low first, and then we'll do A2 mid. Doing A2 low first because there are a lot of similarities to other classes that you guys might know. Okay. Yeah. Also, my name is Ray. I'm at Songpa branch, but that's not entirely relevant to this. Anyway, so A2 low mid. All right, we'll start with A2 low. And so A2 low only consists of 2 levels. Okay. A2 low is mega and giga. So only 2 levels. Oh, I should put this, I'll put this in the chat. Again, if you want to follow along, link to whatever notes I have is in the chat. And if you want to follow along on the teachers portal, you can change the term to 21 winter, I believe, or 22 summer. It doesn't matter. Winter and summer are A2 terms, so you can just pick either one on teachers portal. Both of them are fine. All right. So yeah, we'll start with A2 low. So A2 low is kind of, the objective of A2 low is kind of just develop skills for students. Oh, this was the high one. Oops. Sorry. This should be the real one. Yes? Okay. All right, that's the real one. So the objective for A2 low mid and kind of just A2 in general is to develop their more academic skills, right? And so in this case, that will translate into helping them with the TOEFL junior test. Okay. And so one of the things that you'll kind of realize is if you go to the second page, right? If you go to that second page of A2 low, mega giga, you'll notice this page, activate, which is, all right, activate. I'm sure you've all seen activate pages before. Where have you seen activate pages before? Where have you seen activate before?
C1.
C1, right? This is very similar to C1 classes. So basically, the easiest way to explain A2 low is it's similar in style to a C1 class. It's not exactly the same, but it is similar. It has a lot of elements of C1 class. And so just like a C1 activate page, similar to a C1 class, right? A C1 activate page, you're gonna want to have media cards. I guess we'll use a class that I've subbed for, right? You want to use media cards. Now, sometimes, right, I like to do media cards separately, right? Sometimes I've done all at once, right? All the media cards kind of mixed together. And so mixing all your pictures into one media card, similar to, similar in style to like this, right? So in this example, right, I've kind of mixed up all the words. I've mixed up the order, and they're all in this one media card. And the idea is that it's going to kind of test the students a little bit, because some students are very smart and they'll learn that, well, teacher put this card first. Teacher's got this media card first. It must be the first word, right? So mixing up the media cards can be helpful in kind of challenging them just a little bit more to think about the words. Otherwise, right, activate media cards, right, elicit ideas about the word, about the picture, I guess, and then connect it to the word, right? You should have a connection, right? After the student kind of brings up, like, I don't know, let's just say, let's use this one, right? If we ask students, what do you see here, right? Someone's gonna say a doctor, someone will say teacher, someone's gonna say construction or worker, right? Then you want to connect and bring that back to the actual vocab word, right? So like connect, like doctors and teachers and construction workers, those are all occupations, And then you can also have like a more, also good to have a simplified word, right? For example, occupation can be simplified into job, right? It's also good to have this kind of simplified word to make it a little easier for students to make that connection as well. And then finally, you have to make sure you confirm their understanding, right? Make sure you confirm that students know what the word is, right? So have students, right, just ask like, all right, who should I pick, right? Maybe Brittany, right? What occupation does your mom have, right? Or, right, Jenna, what occupation do you want when you grow up, right? Make sure you confirm that students understand what the word actually means. Okay, nothing big here. And then, of course, you have the fill in the blanks. So this is also very similar, right? This is also something you'll see in like C1 lower level classes. Just fill in the blanks, have students fill in the blanks, make sure students can justify like why they picked the word. So in reality, I would say that the activate page takes probably somewhere around 15, 20 minutes, right? Somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes is about where you should take, about how long it'll take for activate. All right. Any questions here? Activate page. No, no, all good. All right, then understand. So understand page is, again, very similar to C1 skim. Now, you're not exactly teaching Cheongdam pizza here, but you kind of are, right? A lot of these passages, sometimes they're stories, sometimes they're like similar to C1 passages, more academic or topical based, but you do want to basically do Cheongdam pizza here, right? Basically C1 skim, CDI pizza, right? You want to first use the title and the picture to kind of elicit, right? Use the title and picture to elicit ideas about the topic. And then, of course, just run through the Cheongdam pizza ideas, right? Now, the thing with this, okay, the thing with this is locations all do this differently, okay? The guide itself, like the SEG guide, specifically states that you should play the audio, right? You should play the audio, and at the same time that the audio is playing, students should read through the passage on their own, like follow along as the audio is playing. Now, I'll be honest, not every location does this. So make sure you're very clear, like you ask your location, your FM or your HI, whoever, make sure you get like specifics on how your location wants to conduct this page. Some places ignore the audio, some places use the audio. So just make sure you figure out which place or what your place does. And then, right, while reading, right, but the general idea is while reading, right, students should be looking for the CDI pizza ideas, right? Topic, thesis, main idea, details, right? So yeah. Early on, right, early on, of course, go more in depth about the CDI pizza, right? Maybe like week 1, right? Week 1, focus on topic and thesis, right? Week 2, right? Review topic thesis, right? And then focus main ideas, right? And then, you know, you get the point, right? Week 3, right? Review main ideas, right? Now focus on the major details, right? But obviously, you will know your students best, right? You know the pace that your students can work at, so you can obviously adjust what your focuses are based on the student's understanding. But then always make sure you justify, right? Students should justify why they pick, the topic. Or we'll just say why they pick the CDI pizza elements, right? Have students tell you, right? I picked this last sentence as the topic, right? I picked this as the thesis because it has transition word, but, and it has topic, fishing, right? Have students justify that, right? And the one justification I will never accept is this is the thesis because it's the last sentence. This is the main idea because it's the first sentence, right? Never accept that, right? Even though it might be true for like Mega and Giga, you don't want students to build that habit of, well, first sentence, main idea, last sentence, thesis. Always have them actually explain using the Changnam Pizza elements. Okay. Honestly, this page shouldn't be hard if you've done any C1 class, like low mid, because it's very simple. It's very, very similar. All right. So any questions about this? No. I would say this page probably is going to take 20, 25 minutes. All right. On a good day. Early on, it might take longer, but 20, 25 should be about right. So the one difference between A2 low and C1 is that scan comes before summarize, right? C1 summarize, which is the details, is before the scan or right after the skim, but this time scan actually comes first. Scan is literally just C1 scan. Right? It's C1 scan. It's answering the questions. All right. Again, make sure with scan to have students, right, ID keywords, right, identify keywords in the questions, right, and then find the keywords in the passage, right, building habits for later on, right, find the keyword in the question, find the keyword in the passage. All right. Early on, of course, you can have students you can guide students, walk through the questions with the students, but honestly, probably by like week 5, students should be able to just do all the questions on their own. All right. And if you'll notice that there are numbers next to each line, right? The number equals the number of words the answer has. So like all these 3, the orange ones, have 1 word in the answer, but this one, the blue one in question 3, has 2 words in the answer. So it's just a little hint for the students of like how many words their answer should have, basically. All right. If a student is typing in 3 words here, then the student should know my answer is wrong. Okay. And again, justify, right? Students justify answers, have them tell you where they found the answer, all right? Have students tell you where they find it, all right? Any questions about this? No, 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 no. Okay. Scan, generally there's 4 questions, all right? Sometimes I believe sometimes it could be 3, sometimes it's 5, but average is about 4. Probably about 15 minutes should be good, right? 2 minutes per question at the start, and then about 2 minutes to justify each question in the end should be enough time. All right, summarize. Summarize is the details, right? Again, if you guys have all probably done C1, right? It's just the details. Same thing, right? It's actually very similar to scan. It's just filling in the blanks, just like scan was. But summarize is just more geared towards more major details. So one of the things with summarize though is you want to make sure to kind of build that connection of the Cheongnan pizza, right? The flow of the details. So like, as you go through this, right? Fishing is one of the most dangerous occupations in the world, right? Which part of our Cheongnan pizza is this, right? Well, this is our thesis, right? A lot of fishermen drown in boating accidents. Well, what part of that, right? What part of the pizza is this? Main idea, right? And now we have details. Okay. So basically review structure of CVI pizza and, right, ID details. Yeah. Same thing as the scan, the number next to the blank is the number of words that answer has. All right. But honestly, this page, nothing too difficult. All right. Any questions about this? Nope. All right, this page, probably again, 15 minutes. I'd say 15 minutes, not too bad. All right, so take notes. Now, take notes is just as the name implies, right? Taking notes, introducing the students to note-taking and listening. So we'll just go next page here, right? With the take notes part, right? Again, you can kind of talk about the topic, right? The picture always relates to the topic. And then this first audio, right? The first audio will kind of tell you the topic, right? And so you want students to be able to listen to this and identify what the topic is, right? Of course, you can teach them like those note-taking tips, right? Repeated words early on, probably the topic, right? Things like that. And of course, there also are these hint blurbs or whatever you call them at the top. Now, this is also where things change, but I'll go through the, I guess, the HQ guideline way first. So basically, the HQ provided method for this, and this is the one that generally a lot of places do, is students will have this outline of the conversation, right? Students will have the outline of the conversation, and they will fill in the blanks, right? Fill in the blanks as they listen. And so the idea of this is to kind of see, like, can they hear these keywords, and then can they fill in the blank of what's missing in the keyword, right? Can they hear the detail or whatever is important, and can they identify it? Now, the downside of having this is, right, students, it's good and bad, right? I guess the downside is that obviously on the level up tests, students are not going to have this kind of outline. But early on, it can be useful to kind of teach students, right, what parts of a conversation are important and what parts are not useful, right? So early on, right, all of these keywords are pretty much keywords relating to the topic, right? Our topic here, fishing quota, and you'll see, right, everything is basically about like fishing, right? Fishing quota, right? Fish, right? And then there's a lot of like emotions and stuff. So it's good early on to kind of use as a guide for helping lower level students understand, like, this part is important and this part is not. Okay. Later on in the term, right, I actually suggest just not even using this part, right? Just covering up this whole part and have students take notes just on their own. That's my suggestion. That's how some locations do it, just straight off week one, right? They just lock like eyes on teacher on the tab, and they only show the topic, and have students just take notes by themselves, right? But in general, right, this is the very general way. Fill in the blanks as they listen, right? And then go over the answers. So again, there's two ways to do it. Right, I guess let's just say it later on, right? Try to have students be more independent and not use the outline when notes. All right, so that's that part. Any questions? Yeah. Oh, Austin, is that a question? Oh, okay, good. Sorry. All right, and then we have scan, right? Scan is literally the same as reading scan. So I'm not going to go over it again, right? It's, I guess I'll just put here, scan, have students use the notes to justify, right? Have students use the notes to justify their answer, but everything else with scan is the same as reading scan, right? What is the keyword in the question? Where is the keyword in the notes, right? And then justify. Oh, I guess timer wise, take notes can take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how well your students understand, like filling in the blanks and taking notes. Scan, for listening, scan is a lot shorter, maybe 10 minutes is enough, right? 10 minutes should be good because you don't have to go through a whole passage. You just go through a very short section of notes. All right. And now, if you've taught A2 mid before, right, simulate. So up until now with A2 low mid, it's been just practice and working together, right? Simulate is where they do everything on their own, right? Everything on own, right? And so this is basically them practicing their skimming skills. It's them practicing their scan, right? But they're doing it now with no guidance from the instructor. And this is like their in-class test. So with this, they have 4 questions usually. And generally, we'll say for reading, right? Reading, I'll usually give 10 minutes early, right? And we'll bring it down. We'll bring it down to 8 minutes later on in the term. And with this, right, you just have students answer the questions by themselves. Make sure that students are kind of annotating, because I believe, I actually don't remember the A2 Mega workbooks. I don't know if I have one. I don't have one, but I believe in the A2 workbook, they do have the simulate passage. So students can annotate, right? Have students annotate like, okay, question 1, main idea, mainly about, I need to find topic, all right? Have students use the workbook, basically. And then review, right? Review the most missed questions, right? And then have students who get it right justify. Okay, nice. All right, yeah, have students who here, yeah, I like to have students who get the question right first, explain it. Like they're the first ones to explain it. And then again, just like other classes, the instructor is like a supplementary explanation. But students learn better from students because students can explain things in ways that students understand. Right. So, any questions about this? No. All right, listening simulate is again applying those skills that they learned from the note-taking section, take notes, and the listening scan. And it's very similar to reading simulate, right? You're just gonna play the audio, right? You're just gonna play the audio. Students will take notes on their own, and then they're going to answer the questions. All right. Now here, it really depends on the instructor. After you do all the questions, after you kind of go through and students have answered all the questions, some instructors like to kind of show the students the model notes for this simulate. And some instructors will just replay the section that has the answer. Personally, I like to show the students like model notes for this. I just like to have students see like what a good set of notes looks like. It doesn't matter what level, right? Having students see what a good set of notes looks like is always helpful for them, especially if you use like symbols or abbreviations that they can kind of get in the habit of using. All right, otherwise listening, I would say just play the audio, right? Play audio, and then we'll say usually 1 minute per question. So like here we have 3 questions. I'll give them 3 minutes to answer 3 questions, right? And then again, as you review, right? Review would be, right, have students justify using their notes first, all right? Have students tell you, right, I wrote down this thing, right? I wrote down, what is this answer? I wrote down like pilot tired, right? Or pilot sleep, like a lot of things about tiredness or whatever. And that's why my answer is D, right? Have students always justify using their notes, their explanations, how they found it. Right. Any questions about this? Okay. So again, just like A2 high, if some of you have done A2 high or A2 low or C1, right? You'll notice that, right, speaking and writing always kind of get left behind, right? And it's no different in like A2 low mid. There are times where you might not be able to get through all of the speaking and writing, but speaking and writing, the whole objective is just to make sure that students can kind of connect their thoughts properly. And so here, right, it's a lot of like chunks, right? Listen, repeat. It's very self-explanatory. Listen, repeat, right? Have students kind of getting used to these chunks. And then, right, having students fill in the blanks using these chunks. And then unscrambling. So unscrambling is kind of useful, right? If you've done F1 before, like EC2, EC3, right? A lot of unscrambling, it helps students kind of learn sentence structure, right? Subject, verb, object, things like that. All right, and then practice, right? Practice, this is again, speaking practice. You do want to make sure for speaking weeks that you have students practice this, right? Because this is level up test, right? You have to have students be able to practice like looking at pictures and then telling the story about the picture, right? Otherwise, the last big part about speaking and writing is acquire, right? Or build, or it's just basically just called acquire, right? And acquire is important because it's more grammar and grammatical rules. And so if, let's say, if you are running out of time, if you are low on time, right? Your priority is acquire page first, right? You want to have students go over grammar points every class, whether it's speaking like here, or whether it is writing here, right? You want to make sure that your priority in speaking and writing is this acquire page if you're running low on time. And then also, right, you want to make sure to try to do apply second, because apply is like the students applying the grammar ideas that they learned and practicing. All right. So that's A2 low mid, basically. Any general questions? A2 low mid. No. All right, then we'll go through A2 high or A2 mid pretty quick. All right, so A2 mid is the test class. So A2 mid consists of 4 levels this time: Terra Bridge, Par, and a Birdie. And again, the idea of A2 mid, academic skills and helping them improve their test scores for TOEFL Junior. So first component, diagnose, right? Diagnose is like their diagnostic test, right? Pretest, we can say, right? The whole idea is, right, do students know this question type already, right? Do they know this question type already? Do they know how to answer it already, right? So a couple of reasons why this page exists, right, is because, again, it's kind of a test. You can gauge, right? If all of your students understand, like all your students get this question right, you know, as the instructor, you probably don't have to explain as much, right? But if everyone gets this question wrong, then you know you should probably spend more time practicing this kind of question. With the diagnose, right, 0 guidance, 0 help, right? Don't help the students with anything. Just tell them 2 minutes, answer this question. That's it, right? 2 minutes, answer the question. And then as always, right, you have the SRS, right? The student response system, where you can see how many people pick each answer. Obviously use that to gauge how your class does in the diagnose page. Okay. Any questions about this? No. Okay. Next page is strategize. So strategize is where you actually go over the strategy, right? Go over that question type strategy. How to do the question. What are the steps for the question? All right. Sometimes you'll have multiple strategize pages, right? Like for this one, we have a strategize page for stated main idea, but later on, there is also a strategize page for implied main idea. So sometimes you'll have 2 different sets of diagnose, strategize, and then practice, simulate. Sometimes there's only 1. But with strategize, right, first, of course, you want to, right, go over the question type or types that they will be learning. And then there are also some hints, right? You can use these additional pages to kind of get some clues, right? Help the students out with some clues. Things like overview of main idea strategy or signal words, right? Signal words are always big. You always want to get students to identify signal words. And then it's basically follow the steps on the left, right? Follow the steps on the left, 1 at a time, and then also, right, confirming understanding after each step, right? So it's not just going to be like, all right, step 1, you do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this, right? And go. But it's more, right, let's do step 1 together, right? What word do we see the most in paragraph 1, right? And then have students take 30 seconds. Look at paragraph 1. What word do they see the most, right? And then go over it together, right? This is very, very hand-holding. basically, right? You're working together on this, right? On the step. Now for the instructor, right? The instructor also has the light bulb, right? And the light bulb, again, kind of highlights all of these steps. So if you want to maybe justify later, right? And you want to confirm that a student's answer is correct, maybe, right? A student picks web. What do we see, right? Student's correct, right? We see web 4 times, right? That's probably, right, the word we see the most. All right, so you can use the light bulb as well as kind of a tool in class to confirm answers and to confirm that students are also correct. All right, and then you basically just repeat that whole process with each step, right? Step 2, here is what step 2 is. Students go do step 2, come back together as a class and review step 2, okay? And then repeat each part, basically. All right. So now, like for this part, step 2 has multiple sub-steps, basically, right? You want to also still go over each sub-step individually, right? So let's go 2.1, right? Let's look for signal words first, right? And then Paris, what signal word did you find, right? Hannah, what signal word did you find, right? And then go over that. Right? If there's maybe more than one, right? Keep going and following those steps, right? Make sure you justify, and go over each part during strategize. Okay. Any questions? Strategize. No? All right, I guess I should give you some timers. Diagnose, 5 minutes max. Strategize can take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the question type. Detail question types, probably like detail, it's very easy, right? Detail could probably take 30 minutes. Harder question types like inference, sentence insertion, things like that, those could take like 40 minutes to really understand, strategize, and students will know. Austin, is that a hand?
Yeah, you said you want to go over like after they finish, go over step 2 again. Was this like finish step 1, step 2, step 3, then go over step 2 again?
Okay, so okay. Yeah, so that's like after you do step 1, right? After you kind of introduce step 1, right? Students will do step 1, and then you'll review step 1, right? And then it's kind of the same thing, right? With step 2, for main idea, there's multiple parts, right? So you kind of want to go through it. Part 1, all right, let's do, right, here is part 1. Now the students will do part 1. And now let's come back together as a class and review part 1, all right? So it's not like, we're doing all of it and then review. Yeah, it's just part by part, yeah. Because that's how we, yeah, that's how we can confirm that they understand like what to do.
Okay.
All right. So, anything else? No? All right. So, practice. Practice is very similar. Practice is very similar to strategize, right? The students will be able to see the steps, right? They can see what the steps are, right? But it's them practicing on their own, right? And so, right, they'll practice the steps they learned, right? The hints or the steps are on the left. And so the way that most places do this is that they'll allow students, right? Allow the students about 2 minutes, maybe 2, 3, depending on the question type, to answer the question using the steps. And then afterwards, right? Afterwards, like after everyone's done answering, you'll basically go over and review, right? Review the question using all the steps, right? So this one's kind of like a mix between strategize and simulate. Basically, yeah, they answer the question by themselves, and then your review, right, when you're justifying, you're going to justify following the step order, right? So it'll be like, Jamie, right, step 1, what did you pick as the topic, right? And then Jamie would tell me, and then step 2, Lau, right, Lau, what signals do you find, right? And then we'll kind of justify together using the steps. Okay. Any questions about practice? No? All right. And then the last part is simulate. All right, I guess practice shouldn't take too long. 15 minutes should be enough for practice. And then simulate. So simulate is like their in-class test, right? This is like their test. Testing themselves. Did they learn, and did they kind of put it to their memory of what to do? And so one thing first you'll notice is that there are multiple simulate questions most of the time. Right, so like main idea, there's only one simulate question, but for lesson 2, which is factual and negative factual, we have 3 different pages of simulate. So you don't need to feel pressured to do all of the simulate pages, but just try to get through as many as time allows, basically. All right. And then simulate, again, just right, students will answer the question on own, right? And then if necessary, students should be able to justify, right? And then so students will justify the answer using all the steps, right? One student this time, right? So when you justify simulate, one student is basically going to do the whole answer justification process by themselves, right? It's not going to be like split into parts like practice, but just one student will justify and how they find the answer. All right, so ideally, you really want to spend like not much time on simulate because again, there are sometimes multiple simulate pages and there are sometimes even multiple question types like lesson 1, main idea, stated main idea, and implied main idea. So you really don't want to spend too much time on this. I would say 10 minutes max, all right? And these times, right? These times are for all like diagnose, right? Strategies and practice and sim pages, right? Lesson 1 has 2 diagnose pages, 2 strategize pages, 2 practice pages, and 2 simulate pages. And so these times are for both, right? Combined, the 2 strategize pages shouldn't take like more than 40 minutes. Combined, the 2 practice pages should be about 15 minutes. All right. So that's the reading section. Any questions about reading? No? Then listening. All right. I'm gonna go through some parts a little quickly for listening because there are a lot of repeats. Listening diagnose is same as reading. All right. Same as reading. Just play the audio, and then have the students answer the question. No guidance, no help, nothing. All right. Play audio, next page, answer question. Done. All right. The bulk of your time on listening will probably be this strategize page because the strategize page is note-taking and using the notes to answer. And So again, early on, you really want to go over note-taking tips, right? Abbreviations, take like symbols, right? Oops. Right. You want to, a lot of instructors use, you know, ASK, right? Abbreviation, symbol, keyword. A lot of instructors use this. One thing that is good to teach them as well, add a T there, right? Add transitions to that, transition words, right? So it becomes task, right? Transition words just play a very big part in the note-taking. They're also known as signal words. So maybe you can change it to asks instead. But either way, you want to also have students understand, right? Transition and signal words are very important for note-taking. All right. Otherwise, it's basically just note-taking, right? Kind of similar to C1 listening, right? C1 listening, note-taking. You want to just go through, right? Play the audio, right? Write down the topic, right? Go step by step, just like the reading, right? Step by step. And then depending on the style of class you have, whether it's hybrid or maybe you happen to be all offline, definitely utilize some kind of method, a way to show the students the notes, right? Some kind of way to show students what notes you're taking down, whether it is a Google Doc if you're having a hybrid class, or use your whiteboard if you have one in an offline class. Or if your handwriting is really bad, like mine, just even if you're offline, still use a Google Doc, right? But they need to have some kind of way to visualize the notes and what the notes should look like, all right? And then again, you can kind of press the hint boxes, right? School life, right? What are some school life topics? Topic signal words, right? You can go over topic signal words. You can go over hints, like if a school nurse is talking, it's probably going to be about health, right? Who is the speaker? What could they talk about? And then only for instructors, right? Only as the instructor, you have the light bulb, which will show you the listening script, the topic signal, the phrases in step 1 or the parts in step 1 that need to be written down, and an example of model notes. Now, you don't have to follow these model notes exactly, right? The model notes are there for as an example, but again, you can, as the instructor, kind of create your own model notes as well. And then you basically, just like reading strategize, you just follow the steps on the left. And so once you get to like the details part, this is where you'll probably want to start like maybe play pausing if you have to, right? So for details, right, play pause could be good. Right? Play pause can be useful early on, right? And then again, make sure you elicit model notes from the students, right? Make sure you elicit these notes from the students, right? You can ask it in like a form of a question, right? So maybe we'll ask like, you know, Kinsey, right? What are they going to do in May, right? And so that you're kind of leading them to the model note that they're supposed to write down, right? And so, yeah, elicit model notes and then also be able to show them what the notes looks like. Right. Depending on the length of the audio, right, it can take anywhere from diagnose again, 5 minutes max, depending on the length of the audio, right? Early on is announcements. Those audios are very short, like 30, 40 seconds. So those audios, you probably don't need to spend too much time with model notes. But once you get into lectures and conversations, those audios get a lot longer. So you'll probably have to budget more time for like model notes and eliciting model notes. All right, so strategize anywhere from 15 minutes on the short side for announcements to this can take anywhere up to 30 minutes for a lecture. So it is quite variable here. And then alongside strategize is the actual question type. All right, and so this is very similar to reading strategize, right? Follow the step, right? In the notes, what is the topic? Wow, food drive repeated many times. Food drive is probably our topic. And then follow the step. Choose the answer that has the topic. Which answer has food drive? C. Answer is C. Right? So it is very step-by-step based for strategize. Right? Just follow the steps and you should be okay. Right? When you're justifying, again, right? When you justify, use the notes. Right? Use the model notes. Right? Have students tell you, right? I wrote down food drive 3 times. So food drive is topic and C has topic, right? That's kind of like your ideal answer. Right. Any questions so far? All right, we should be good pretty soon. All right, we should be able to finish in like 5-10 minutes. I know we started late, so we're gonna end a little late. All good? All right, then we'll go to practice, and practice is again basically the same as reading practice, right? It's allowing the students to practice the steps they learn, right? Practice the note-taking tips they learn. And so with this, right? With this, what I like to do with this part, this is a personal preference, right? After they listen and take the notes, I like to just post or show, I like to show my model notes and have students compare, right? Have students compare like what did I write down and what did they write down, right? And see like if they have similar ideas or not. Because obviously my model notes are not going to be exactly the same as what the students write down, but if they have similar ideas at least, right? Like here, if someone writes down like improve class, right? And this is my model note, that's pretty good, right? They got that first hint, right? I'm trying to think of something, right? If someone writes down like write essay, then they probably have that signal word, that they caught that signal word. Today I want, right? So I'm showing my model notes and having the students kind of compare. Did they kind of get the similar ideas as well, right? And then also you can, again, also have students like explain why they write things down, right? That's also a good thing. Why do students write things down, right? Because this, or because some reason, right? Because there's a transition word, or because it talks about making class better, things like that. All right, so basically this is practice. It's just practicing the steps. Anything big here? Any questions here? No? All right, then we'll finish obviously with the question. Again, the question, they're just practicing the question. Same thing, right? Same thing as the reading practice, just allow the students, for this one though, because it's listening, students only need like 1 to 1.5 minutes, right? They really should not need more than 90 seconds to answer this question. Overall, later in the term, right, I try to bring down the question answer time to 30 seconds, right? Because on the level up test, they only get like 13 seconds to answer a question, right? So like you want to kind of slowly adjust the time to kind of mimic the level up test in the end, right? And of course, you always want students to justify, right? Justify using notes. All right, practice, probably about 15 minutes per practice should be enough. And then simulate is simulate, right? I don't think simulate needs too much of an explanation, right? In-class test, right? Have students, right, just play the audio, have students take notes by themselves, and then have students answer the question. And then justify using only their notes, right? Students are going to justify using only their notes. But if, let's say, if there are, like, if it's difficult, right? The instructor can use their model notes to help explain, right? So, for example, like if this question, like every student gets this wrong, then maybe, right, the students were not able to identify the key details well enough. Then in this case, instead of having one student try to explain it because, you know, most people got it wrong, I would have my model notes on the screen and we'll work together again to try to explain this very difficult question. But if it's very easy, that you can just have one or two students try to explain using their own notes. Okay. That is the bulk of A2 mid. Any questions, reading, listening? Anything about reading, listening? No? All right. Then the last part about reading, listening, or last part about A2 mid is writing and speaking. So again, just like, you know, C1 classes, sometimes you'll figure out that there is not enough time to actually do more than one page of writing and speaking. And so your goal is to try to save at least like 30 minutes. Your goal is to have at least 30 minutes, if not even, like, the most ideal is have the entire third hour, basically. Not the entire, most of the third hour to do writing or speaking. In reality, early on, it might not be possible, but as the term goes on, you kind of want to aim for that goal. And so with writing and speaking, it's a lot of like different types of writing. There's email writing, there's paragraph writing, opinion writing, but these are all like writing types, right? Or I guess exercises that are also on their iLearning, their homework. So you do want to be able to go through this, right? Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to explain this too much because all the steps are the same, right? Strategize, follow the steps, right? Justify, elicit answers, right? There's just a lot of strategized pages, and then just practice and simulate, right? So I don't think I need to explain writing and speaking that much because a lot of the steps are just repeating from reading and listening, right? Just follow the steps on the side and justify and confirm understanding with students. All right. One thing that is very important though, and this is something that you want to make sure you do throughout the term, is make sure again that you go through and have students practice for speaking specifically, picture narration, because picture narration is the level up test, right? Future lessons like lesson 6, for example, lesson 6, the speaking doesn't have picture narration. Lesson 6 for speaking has a listen speak, which is again matching their iLearning, right? But, right, after maybe you do one practice, like one practice of listen speak, right? It's up to kind of your discretion, right? If students really understand listen speak, maybe do a picture narration practice. Go back to a previous lesson. If the students are still struggling with the listen speak, then of course, do a second practice. All right. But ultimately, the level up test is picture narration. So I do suggest doing picture narration whenever you can. All right. But I think that's basically it. All right. And then for writing, opinion writing is their writing test on the level up test. Right, opinion writing, very simple, right? Do you prefer cats or dogs? I like cats more because dogs are loud, right? And have students kind of elaborate and stuff. But that's basically it for writing. All right, so any questions in the end about anything? Any questions about anything? Anything about A2? Low, mid? No? All right, in the chat, again, I know there were some late comers. All right, the notes that are on the Google Doc, if you want to keep it, your call, all right? It's on, the link is in the chat. Oh wait, no, I sent it to just one person. All right, it's in the chat. Last thing that you just need to make sure is that each location does have their own specifics on certain aspects of A2 low and mid. So I'm sure that you guys will get like more individualized like branch or location trainings, probably starting next week or week 13. And I think that's where you'll get like the more specific details of like, we do this and we don't do this, right? Yeah. If there's no questions, I think we're good. All right, you guys can head out. Have a good day of classes. I think we're good.
Thanks, Ray.
Yep.